Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into some of the most shocking kidnappings that have ever occurred. Stay tuned as we uncover these chilling stories. Today, we're going deep into the darkest corners of human behavior, man. We're talking about kidnappings, but not just any kidnappings. These are the ones that shocked the world, the ones that kept people up at night, glued to the news, praying for a miracle. These stories are heavy, man. They'll mess you up. We're talking about innocent people, some of them just kids, snatched away from their lives, trapped in unimaginable situations. It's the kind of stuff you see in movies, but this is real, and it's way more terrifying. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into the minds of both the victims and the kidnappers. We're going to try to understand what drives someone to commit such a horrific act, and how the victims found the strength to survive. Jaycee Dugard, man. Just 11 years old when she was snatched right in front of her stepfather. Can you imagine the terror? Gone without a trace for 18 years? 18 years, man. That's almost 2 decades stolen from her, held captive by this freak, Philip Garrido, and his wife. They kept her in a shed in their backyard. It's mind-blowing, the audacity of these people. They had kids of their own, for God's sake, and Jaycee, she had 2 daughters in captivity. 2 daughters born into that nightmare. It's just unfathomable. But here's the thing about the human spirit, man, it's unbreakable. Jaycee, she survived, she endured, and finally, after 18 long years, she was free. The details of her escape, the way they finally caught Garrido, it's like something out of a movie, but it really happened. And Jaycee, she's out there, rebuilding her life piece by piece. Elizabeth Smart, just 14 years old when she was taken from her own bedroom in Salt Lake City. Her younger sister, she witnessed the whole thing, man. Can you imagine the trauma? Brian David Mitchell, a religious fanatic, he called himself Emmanuel, thought he was some kind of prophet. He kidnapped Elizabeth, held her captive, made her wear disguises, even forced her to call him her husband. 9 months, man. 9 months she was missing. Her family never gave up hope. Her face was everywhere on posters on the news. The whole country was looking for her. And then, a break. Someone recognized Mitchell from a wanted poster. They found Elizabeth alive, with him and his wife. The trial, the details of what she endured, it was horrifying. But Elizabeth, she showed incredible strength, testifying against her captors. She's a survivor, man, a real inspiration. The Lindberg Baby, man, this one goes back to 1932. Charles Lindbergh Jr., the son of the famous aviator, Charles Lindbergh, snatched from his crib a ransom note left behind. This case, it gripped the nation. The Lindberghs, they were American royalty, and their baby was gone. It was like the whole country was holding its breath, hoping for the child's safe return. But it wasn't meant to be. They found the baby's body weeks later, murdered. It was a national tragedy, man. Bruno Richard Hauptmann, he was eventually arrested and convicted for the crime. But the Lindbergh case, it changed America. It led to new laws about kidnapping, about media coverage of these kinds of cases. The Lindbergh Baby, it's a reminder of the darkness that can touch even the most famous, the most seemingly untouchable lives. Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, Gina DeJesus, 3 names, 3 young women who vanished in Cleveland, Ohio over a span of years. Ariel Castro, the monster who took them, he held them captive in his house, a seemingly normal house in a residential neighborhood. It's chilling, man, how someone can hide such evil in plain sight. Years they spent in that house, enduring unimaginable abuse, physical, emotional, sexual. It's almost too horrific to even talk about. But then, in 2013, a miracle. Amanda Berry, she saw a chance and took it. She screamed for help, got the attention of neighbors, and finally, after a decade of captivity, they were free. The details of what those women went through, it's the stuff of nightmares, but their resilience, their will to survive, it's a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Colleen Stan, Hitchhiking, man, it's like a horror movie trope. She was just a young woman trying to get to a friend's birthday party when she accepted a ride from a seemingly normal couple, Cameron and Janice Hooker. But this was no normal couple. They drove her to their home, and that's where Colleen's nightmare began. They locked her in a box, man, a box under their bed. 7 years, man, 7 years she spent in that box, subjected to unimaginable torture and abuse. Cameron Hooker, he was a sadist, a monster who got off on controlling and tormenting another human being. It's hard to even fathom the psychological manipulation that went on. The way he broke her down, convinced her she couldn't escape. But even in that darkness, Colleen held on to hope. And finally, after 7 years, Janice Hooker, she had a change of heart, helped Colleen escape. The case, it shocked the world, man. It's a reminder that monsters can lurk in the most unexpected places. This one's straight out of a nightmare, man. 1976, Chowchilla, California. A school bus full of kids, 26 of them, along with their bus driver, kidnapped at gunpoint. 3 masked men, they hijacked the bus, drove it to a quarry, forced the kids and the driver into a moving van that was buried underground. Can you imagine the terror? Trapped in the dark, underground with no idea what was going to happen. The kidnappers, they were after a ransom, thought they could pull off the perfect crime. But these kids, man, they were resourceful. They stacked mattresses, they dug their way out, and after 16 hours buried alive, they escaped. The ringleader, Frederick Woods, he was just denied parole again. These guys, they deserve to rot for what they did. This case, it's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope can survive. Patty Hearst, heiress to the Hearst newspaper fortune, was kidnapped in 1974 by a radical group calling themselves the Symbionese Liberation Army, or the SLA. This wasn't just a kidnapping, man, it was a political statement. The SLA, they were a bunch of revolutionary wannabes trying to overthrow the government. They held Patty Hearst captive. But then, something strange happened. She started to identify with her captors, even participated in bank robberies with them. Stockholm Syndrome, man, it's a real thing when captives start to sympathize with their captors. It's a survival mechanism, a way to cope with the trauma. Patty Hearst, she was eventually caught, spent time in prison, but her case remains one of the most bizarre and fascinating kidnapping stories of all time. This one, man, this one's just pure evil. Josef Fritzl, an Austrian monster who imprisoned his own daughter Elizabeth in a secret bunker beneath his house. 24 years, man, 24 years he kept her locked down there. He raped her repeatedly, fathered 7 children with her, 7 children born into that underground hellhole. It's almost beyond comprehension, the depravity of this man, the suffering he inflicted on his own flesh and blood. It wasn't until one of the children became seriously ill that the truth finally came out. Elizabeth and her children were freed, and Josef Fritzl, he's rotting in prison where he belongs. But the scars, man, the psychological damage, it's unimaginable. This case, it's a chilling reminder of the darkness that can exist within families, within the human heart. Meline Maccan, just 3 years old when she vanished from a holiday apartment in Portugal in 2007. Her parents, they were eating dinner with friends. Madeleine was asleep in the next room. Gone, man, just gone. It's every parent's worst nightmare. The case, it became a media frenzy. International headlines, theories, speculation, but no Madeleine. The Portuguese police, they botched the investigation. There were suspects, but no arrests. The parents, they were even considered suspects at one point. Can you imagine the agony? To this day, the case remains unsolved. Meline Maccan, she would be a young woman now. Did she wander off? Was she abducted? It's a haunting case, man. A reminder that sometimes, even with all the technology, all the resources in the world, some mysteries remain unsolved. Kamiyah Mobley, stolen from a hospital room just hours after she was born. Jacksonville, Florida, 1998. A woman dressed as a nurse, she walked out of the hospital with a newborn baby, and just like that, Kamiyah was gone. 18 years. Man, 18 years her mother lived with that pain, that emptiness, the not knowing. But then, a break in the case, a tip led police to a young woman in South Carolina. DNA tests confirmed it, she was Kamiyah Mobley. The woman who raised her, Gloria Williams, she had given her a new name, a new life. It's a mind-blowing case, man. The idea that someone could just take a baby and raise it as their own. Kamiyah, she was reunited with her birth parents, but it's a complicated situation, man. Years of lost time, of living a lie. These stories, man, they're tough to hear, they stay with you. The cruelty, the depravity, it's hard to fathom. But there's also hope. The resilience of the human spirit, the will to survive, it's a powerful thing. We have to remember these stories, man. We have to learn from them, be vigilant, protect the innocent, and we have to have hope. Because even in the darkest of times, hope is what keeps us going. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. If you found these stories as shocking as we did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Stay safe out there.